everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for clicking on this video. Today's video is going to be the wrap up of a century, of the entire year. This is a huge wrap up that I have here for you guys because somehow I just got so busy to where I didn't do an April wrap up, I didn't do a May wrap up, and I didn't do a June wrap up. So we're doing all three of them. I did kind of get lucky because those are the 3 months of the second quarter of the year. So it's kind of perfect, but I did not plan that, but let's pretend I did. Before we get started, I do want to talk about a couple book stats. Just basically the amount of books that I read as we're heading into this huge little wrap up. In the month of April, I read a total of 13 books. I did do like a little question mark. I don't know why I did a question mark next to the numbers, but I was thinking that maybe because my Goodreads goal is a little bit like janky, that it's possible that it's not accurate, but I'm pretty sure the 13 is accurate. And yeah, we'll talk about those books later, but I read 13 books. In May, I read a total of 4 books. That was the month that I got married, and so I knew it was already going to be a very busy month. I got married, I graduated, our really close friends got married. Bree, if you're watching this, hi girl. Anyway, so I knew that May was going to be kind of a lower month, and then in June I read a total of 11 books. So I'm super excited to talk about all of these books. That is a total of 28, which I'm pretty proud of. I am about on par with my reading goal of 115 books, at least when I'm filming this. So I am feeling pretty good about that, but yeah, let's talk about all the books that I read this month. Gotta pull up Goodreads. So the first book we are starting off with is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the newest book in the Hunger Games series. It's not a trilogy anymore. It is a complete series, and I rated this 5 stars. I will say this book did shock me in some way. I thought the writing felt really juvenile to me, but that didn't take away from the overall story. I think she was trying to... He's a 16-year-old boy. He is literally a 16-year-old boy. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, this is Haymitch's story. But yeah, this was amazing. I will be seated in the theaters November 2026 whenever the film comes out, because I truly did think this was amazing. I thought it gave a really cool backstory, and of course she can tie together the entire world because she's already written like the present day. And so, or not the present day, but the Katniss, the 74th, the 75th, post-Hunger Games world. And so it is cool to see how she ties in things that we love and know from the original trilogy, and it just, you can see the trickle effect. So I really like that. Suzanne Collins is a wonderful writer. I hope that she writes more surrounding the series, but I also know that she only writes when she feels like she needs to say something, which is saying something due to our current political climate. But I'll leave it at that. I rated this 5 stars. This was a great book to start the month of April, and the cover's sick. I mean, come on, look at that. 5 books I'm going to talk about. I rated all of them 2 stars, I'm pretty sure, and that is part of Scarlett St. Clair's Persephone and Hades retelling. I only have 3 of them. I have 4 of the books, but it's kind of like an interconnected series. You have the Persephone books. There's 4 of them, and it begins with A Touch of Darkness is the first one. I think I read that in March. So in the month of April, I had read A Touch of Ruin, and then you read A Game of Retribution, which is this kind of, yes, there's only 4 books in the A Touch of, but then there's the 3 books for A Game of Gods, or A Game of, and that's kind of like Hades' point of view. They're interconnected, and I would say you have to read all of them, but I probably would not recommend this series. I think it's probably a 1-star series, like rated overall. I think I even maybe started rating it 1 star. I'm not going to look at my ratings because I know these were pretty bad, but yeah, I read A Touch of Ruin, A Game of Retribution, A Touch of Malice, A Game of Gods, and then A Touch of Chaos, which is the last book. And it was definitely something. That's all I have to say. I felt I wanted to finish it because I physically own them. Am I glad I finished them? I'm not sure. I'm glad I gave it a chance, but it definitely was not for me. My April book club book was A Rome of One's Own, The Forgotten Women of the Roman Empire. And I believe I rated this I rated this book 3.5 stars. I thought it was really interesting. I know next to nothing about the Roman Empire or anything related to do with that era of time. And so I thought this was really interesting, getting to hear specifically women's stories, and I think some of them I had recognized. Stories are very familiar, and I gave this book, I do own the book, but I actually gave it to my husband's dad because I feel like he would like it. But I think if you're interested in the Roman Empire or anything Roman-esque, or you love learning about historical women and how women impacted certain events, I would definitely recommend this one. 3.5 stars. Pretty average read. I liked it and I would recommend it. So move on to Quicksilver by Kaylee Hart. I rated this one 4 stars. I will say this book was way too long. It did not need to be as long as it was. I felt like nothing was happening, and which is honestly, I'm surprised I ended up rating it a 4 stars, because the first beginning of it, I was like, I'm gonna DNF this. If I finish it, it's gonna be a 2 stars, maybe at most 2.5 stars. But somehow the last 20%, which is not a big margin, somehow that got me to really, really enjoy it, and I ended up rating it 4 stars. I thought the ending, it just really, like I said, tied it together and made me want to read the second book. We'll see whenever it comes out if I end up doing it. But if you guys have read this book, can you let me know what you think, because I feel like very mixed emotions surrounding this book. For all the fantasy, the Persephone and Hades retelling, and then also Quicksilver, I was in a huge romance mood. So the next book I read was The Strawberry Patch Pancake House. I believe I rated this 4 stars because these are just so fun. Yeah, I rated it 4 stars. It's single dad trope. It's the nanny trope, like the nanny and dad fall in love. Small town, kind of related to Gilmore Girls, like heavily inspired, kind of like the vibes. And also just like, look at this cover. It's so cute. I love it. I personally recommend these. No, they're not like hard-hitting romance novels. They're just fun, cute, silly, cozy vibes. And this is the perfect one for spring. It was the perfect time to read it in April. And yeah, I would recommend this. I would recommend the entire series. I have the first 4 books, including this one, and I can't wait to get my hands on the last installment because it's an Enemies to Lovers, and I'm so excited. But anyway, yeah, I say you should read this. And then I read Out on a Limb, and I rated this 5 stars. This was a phenomenal book in my opinion. This made me feel how I used to feel when I first started reading romance. And I don't know, I just feel like Beau is the perfect book boyfriend. I loved Wynn. She was so funny and witty, and I thought their relationship was really interesting. And I don't know, their humor was also very cute, and of course it does have disability representation, which I think is really important. I don't think before this book I've really read much with disability that is obvious to the reader. I really appreciate Hannah Bonham Young for doing that, and I did end up reading Out of the Woods, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, love this book, 100% recommend it. Honestly, recommend this more than that series, which is saying a lot because I love that series. Okay, and then I'm pretty sure I finished the Rebel Blue Ranch series. If there's a 5th book coming out, please correct me, but I'm pretty sure this is the last book, and that was called Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This was about high school sweethearts, it was a second chance romance. They were friends who became lovers, who broke up, and now they're becoming friends again, and then also, falling in love. And this did have a child in it. There was just so many good things. Secret tattoo. Hold on, is that technically... I know secret tattoos, it's supposed to be a secret, but like it's very obvious that this is secret tattoos, so I apologize, but like, I don't think I've ever read a book with secret tattoos, and this had it, and yeah, it's gonna do it for me. It's gonna do it for me every time now. Also, it's getting really dark in here. Where'd the sun go? Okay, the sun is still not fully out, but we're gonna continue on the next book. Like I said, lots of romance. Whoa. I read The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. This is kind of the second book in a little series that she had, or it's the companion novel to the cheat sheet. So The Rule Book is about another football player on the team. I'm pretty sure that's how they're related. All I know is that Derek and the guy from the first book are friends. I think, honestly, I can't really remember, but I do know I like this in a sense where I'm pretty sure they're friends, right? Not friends, they're exes, and she becomes his talent manager. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, this was awesome because it was kind of similar to Wild and Wrangled, actually. I honestly feel like I remember reading this book right after Wild and Wrangled and being like, whoa. This is kind of so similar, except this is a sports romance, whereas that one is like a cowboy small town romance. So this is definitely a different perspective or a different take on that, but it is very similar of the second chance trope, you know, trying to get back together, whatever. But I did like it, like seeing the cheat sheet. I read that so long ago, so I don't remember all that much about it, but it is very cute and sweet, and Sarah Adams is a pretty PG, or at least closed-door romance gal, so if you're interested in something a little less spicy, you should probably read something from her. Then I think the last book that I read in the month of April was Great Big Beautiful Life, Great BBL, and that was by Emily Henry, and I did rate that 5 stars. London just got home. Whoa, that was scary. You want to say hi?
What's up?
I do agree that it's a lot different than her other stuff. She kind of has a whole nother plot line going on outside of the romance. I do disagree with people though who say that this book does not have romance or it's not heavy on romance. I personally thought it was one of her more quicker romances, and I mean, I loved it. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting their names. Is it like Alice? It's Alice and Hayden. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Alice, but I don't remember. But anyway, yes, I love them. I loved the setting of the book. I love the interconnectedness of the weaving of the stories. I do kind of agree with the comparison to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and the fact that you're kind of looking at a starlet. Is that what it's called? You're kind of looking at a person who is in the stardom and you're following their life, and it's like, what is the point? Why are we learning about this? So I do honestly really recommend that book, and I'm so glad I ended the month of April with that book. We're moving straight into May with my 4 books. So the first book I read was Say You'll Remember Me. I rated this 4.5 stars. This was my first book by Abby Jimenez, and gosh, oh my gosh, I love this. I will say I think it is one of the saddest books. Maybe I should say this one of the saddest romance books I've ever read. But I think that made it better. I think that made it a better novel. I think you were more invested in the characters. At least I was more invested in the characters. And yeah, I would 100% recommend this book. I thought it was amazing. I definitely am wanting to read more books by her because I know she has a very popular like trilogy, and I think I need to tap into that. I read another romance novel. Guys, the romance, it was going crazy. I read How to End a Love Story, which this book, amazing, 4.5 stars. First time reading from this author, and I thought the conflict between the two characters was insane. Like, I don't know, it just made me think of what I would do if I was in the situation of either one of them. Again, this was a little bit of a hard hitter, not like just a sweet rom-com. It's an intense romance. It's a contemporary romance. But I really liked the fact that the female protagonist kind of joined this writing group for her book that is becoming a TV show or a movie. I can't remember. But I thought that part of it was really interesting. And what makes it cool is that this author, Yulin Kwong, she is a screenwriter for either People We Meet on Vacation or Beach Read. I can't remember. I want to say it's People We Meet on Vacation, which the TV or the Netflix release date has been released. Can't wait to watch it in January. But anyway, 4.5 stars. We're gonna keep on moving along. The book I read was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This is technically the second book in the Chronicles of Narnia, but from my knowledge, I thought this was the first book, which I think it is. I think the first book is a prequel, But anyway, I have not consumed anything regarding Narnia. I never read it. I never watched it as a kid. I know the premise of it, but I finally picked it up to complete a Goodreads reading challenge, and I'm honestly glad I did. This was a really quick book, and it's definitely teetering on a child's book. I've read a few things by C.S. Lewis, but nothing fiction related, so this was really interesting. I think I rated it 4 stars? Yeah, I rated it 4 stars. I just think it's nostalgic, it's fun, it's good. I would recommend. And then the last book I read in May is actually fan fiction. It is called The Request, and it's by Redhead414. And I ended up rating this 3.5 stars. It's definitely not my favorite Hermione fan fiction. I thought the first bit of it was really good. I was very invested. And then I didn't like the twist that was on it, where we kind of were getting children POVs. I wasn't vibing with that. I didn't really want that. So 3.5. I honestly think 3 is probably a more accurate rating, but whatever. After that, I decided I needed to invest in something a little bit deeper, a little bit more thought-provoking. So I read Green Light. I don't know who the author's name is. I will put it here, but if you guys are interested in Hermione, you should read this. This was one of the best. I need to come up with my top 5 Hermione fan fictions. I want to say this is in it, but I don't know. This was intense. This was insane. I read this non-stop. I was reading it so much. It was so long, but so good. And I believe, and I can't even say anything. You have to read about it. I have been told, or it's kind of giving The Great Gatsby retelling in a few elements. I wouldn't say that's its main thing, but that's definitely influential on a few parts of it. There's a desert expedition, and guys, it's just a beautiful book, and it made me so emotional. I was actually crying in the airport when we were coming back from our honeymoon. Insert picture here. And Lemon was making fun of me, but this is the book that I read on our honeymoon. If I was in the pool, I was reading this fan fiction, so, and on the flights and whatnot, so 100% recommend that. Let's talk about physical books. So the next book I read in June was Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. I remember mentioning this a little bit ago, but this is the second book, and I think the final book. I think it's kind of just a duology, but these are about the best friends of Win and Bo, and their names are Sarah and Caleb. I ended up rating this 4 stars. I didn't like it as much as Out on a Limb, but I definitely did still appreciate it. What I liked the most is definitely showing the realness of being together with someone for so long and kind of hitting a lull, or a point where you feel so comfortable that it's are we even really pursuing each other? Are we pursuing ourselves? And I really like that a lot. I just thought Sarah and Caleb are really funny, and honestly, I think it is one of the first books where I have read romance novel where they have chosen not to have children. And I know that seems so simple, but I'm in her 2 books, she's showing disability awareness and appreciation for it, which is something that is definitely underrepresented. I said that weird, but whatever. And then in this, she's showing 2 people who clearly love each other and are content not having children, which I also think is underrepresented in a way in romance novels. It always has to conclude with them having a baby, and so I just like that. These characters will never have a baby, and that'll be perfectly fine. So love that, 4 stars. Then I read Late Bloomer by Maisie Eddings. This is the first novel I've read from her. It is a Women Who Love Women book, or a sapphic romance, and I rated it 4 stars. I thought it was so cute. It's the perfect book for this spring. I wish I had finished it in May, or April, May, but June was perfectly fine because also Pride Month. But anyway, it was so fun. It did remind me of Danny and Jamie from The Blind Manor. If you know, you know. It's gardener girl and then this preppy girl somewhat. It's definitely different, but this one was so interesting. It takes place on a flower farm, so if those vibes sound good to you, you should definitely invest in this. Next book I read is also a sapphic romance, and it's also a sports romance. This is Backhanded Compliments by Katie Chandler. I actually got this book from NetGalley. This was the first book I was able to review as a NetGalley reader, so I'm super excited about it, and it'll always kind of have a special place in my heart. But I rated this book 3.5 stars. I thought it was good. I think it took me too long to read it, so my investment went down, but it's very fun. I liked Luca. I liked Juliet. I think I liked Luca a little bit more, Lucky Luca. But yeah, they're tennis players who become rivals, or Juliet loses to Luca, and so there's some tension there, and something pursues. And one thing that is different about this book is there's magical realism in it. So in this world, people, not all people, but some people have 1, 2, 3 soul marks, and it says the names of their soul marks, or soul marks. It shows the names of their soulmates or soulmate, or maybe they don't have any. And so turns out they may be each other's soulmates, which is kind of tricky when they're competitors, but I thought it was really fun. 3.5 stars. I do want to just say thank you to Night Galley for giving it to me. I did end up finishing it a little bit after it came out, but I still recommend it. We read Barbarian's Hope. This is like the 12th book, I think, in this series. 3 stars. It's fun. I don't want to talk about it too much. It's about aliens. It's a sci-fi romance. I have a reading blog on my channel. I read One Golden Summer, 5-star immediately. This is the 2nd book in the Barry's Bay like duology or whatever. It's about Charlie Florrick, the older brother of Sam Florrick, who is in Every Summer After, and he meets a girl named Alice, which I'm realizing I read 2 books with girls named Alice. I read Emily Henry's and this, but it's chill. I guess Alice is a new name. Anyway, yeah, I love this. I've talked about this book a lot on my channel, so I don't want to talk about it all that much, but it's beautiful. I recommend reading this book and reading Every Summer After. Read that one first and then come back to this. But yeah, stunning book. Listened to Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. I rated this one 3 stars. It was fine. I'm definitely going to continue the trilogy, but if you're wanting like my full thoughts, I did read it in a reading blog that you guys should watch because I gave my full thoughts on that there. But yeah, I will definitely be tapping into the 3rd book, but this is just like fine. I was less interested than I was in Lights Out. I think I read literally, I think this might be my top book of 2025. We'll have to check in January or end of December. But I read The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I rated this 5 stars. This is about occupied France during World War II, and there's so much to unpack here, and I was sobbing. I was sobbing reading this book. When it gave me like the same emotional response as Greenlight, the Dream Miney fanfiction. Gosh. I only have 3 books left, and I don't have any of them physically because I read them on my Kindle. But the 3rd to last book I read was Hungerstone by Kate Dunn. This is a Carmilla retelling, and it's just giving gothic. It's giving sapphic. It was just amazing. I love Carmilla. I'd read it twice, and I ended up really appreciating this. I liked Lenore as a character. She was kind of crazy, but in a way that you support her wrongs. And Carmilla was there, of course. But yeah, I rated this 4 stars. I would recommend it. Yeah. And then I've actually started a new series. I started the Windy City series is what I'm pretty sure that's what it's called because it's all set in Chicago. But I read Mile High, and I ended up rating that one 3 stars. I thought Stevie and Xanders were fine characters. I enjoyed them. It was enough for me to want to continue the rest of the series. After reading The Right Move, which I ended up rating 4 stars, which honestly I'm like, should it be a 4.5? Because I loved Ryan. I loved Ryan so much. He is the brother of Stevie from the 1st book. So it's all kind of like interconnected. He was an awesome fake boyfriend. Fake dating trope, yeah, sign me up because it was amazing. Also, I think all the guys are like in professional sports. They're just rich billionaires, which I'm like, okay, yeah, sign me up. I'll read that. But I will be continuing this series. So far we have a 3 and a 4 star. We'll see as I continue reading how it goes. I've been talking for so long. Those are all the books that I've read in the past 3 months. I will never, no, I shouldn't say never. I will hopefully never have to do 3 months wrapped into one video because it's so much talking. I'd rather split it up monthly. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Peace and love. Bye, guys.